Today I'm building in the Tower 300 from Thermaltake. This is my first micro ATX case I've built in over 10 years. I absolutely loved building in this case, and I'm excited to show you the build process. I hope you enjoy it. The motherboard is inverted sideways, and the best part about this is that you get cold ambient room temperature for your GPU and your CPU going through your radiator, and then it exhausts going up through the case. In a lot of other cases, you get air that has already cooled the GPU, picked up a bunch of heat, and then cools the CPU, or vice versa. To open the front panel, you just push to release the two little clips that hold it in place. And you just lift it up. These are the two little clips that go into the socket part of the clip. As you can see on this one, I broke it. I'm a little too rammy. Maybe Thermaltake just makes a cheap case. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt though. The other side panels, you got these little clips as well, you just pull it off. One of the best parts of this case is that the side panels are perforated. Gone is the all glass side panels that Thermaltake had in previous cases. The vented side panels are held in place by magnets up top and a lip on the bottom. You see there, I just ripped it off. I should have lifted up and out instead of just out. I bent the bottom lip. There's dust filters everywhere on this case. Much appreciated. They're easy to take out to clean. The other side panel is the exact same. Here I lifted it up so I don't damage the little lip like I did on the other panel. This is a bracket for either fans or a radiator for your all-in-one cooler or a custom loop. It can do 120mm fans or 140mm fans. I'll be installing a 360mm all-in-one cooler. Take out two screws and it just pops up. The back panel is also held in with those same clips. It easily pops off. A dust filter is on the back and you can fit two 12cm fans or two 14cm fans. This is where the power supply goes. It goes in this shroud. You have to unscrew the shroud, install the power supply into it, and then install the shroud back on. Behind the motherboard, you have this awesome plate. You can use it to fasten SSDs to it, or you can install a fan to provide direct cooling to the back of the motherboard, right behind the CPU. This case comes with awesome cable management holes all over. It really made building in this case enjoyable. These are all the front panel connectors, USB 3, USB-C, HD audio, and the power switch, reset switch, all that stuff. Standard stuff. The power switch, reset switch, and the power activity LED is all just one unit, so you don't have a bunch of little ones you gotta plug in. Great cable management, a lot of clips. Power supply comes with a dust filter for the intake to the PSU. It actually comes out through the front, which is convenient because then you don't have to go behind your computer to pull out the dust filter. That thing that fell there, that was a little clip I broke for the front panel that holds the clip that holds the front panel in place. God, I'm such an idiot. Down here you can house another SSD or HDD. It can also be removed. That's what I'll be doing. Just get it out of there. It's just going to impede airflow from my radiator. Another fan can be installed here at the bottom of the case, helping push air up and out the top of the case. Speaking of the top of the case, this panel pops off, and guess what? You have another awesome dust filter. And it can be easily removed for quick and easy cleaning. It's a super fine dust filter, super fine mesh. The two top 140mm fans that are pulling the hot air through the case are installed in a bracket, and that bracket can be removed easily by 2 thumb screws. Just in case you need to get in there if you're changing out your fans or doing anything. Now you can't fit a radiator up there for an all-in-one cooler, it just doesn't fit. These are the fan cables. They're daisy chained and they're PWM fans. Here's a look from the top of the case down and in. You can see all the cable management holes. You can see where the GPU bracket is there. That's where the GPU is going to be installed. All the thumb screws are already pre-installed for your micro ATX motherboard. It can also fit an ITX motherboard if that's what you're going for. Okay, let's lay this bad boy down, and I want to show you something that I think is quite odd that Thermaltake did. This front little panel here you can remove. Comes with a dust filter and everything, which is nice. But if you wanted to, you could switch it out for this panel, which is designed to house the digital display that you can of course buy separately. Thermaltake doesn't give the display to you, but they give you this little panel. It's just kind of weird because I'm not gonna switch this out into my case unless I buy the digital readout. It's weird that they would give you this and not charge you for this as well with the digital display. This here is a little cover that you can kind of put at the bottom of your case to hide your cable management mess. Now, you cannot use this little cover if you have a long GPU, which I will be using in this case. So, I'm not going to be able to use this little cable management hider thing. But it's kind of neat that they supply it for you if you have a short GPU. Help hide your clutter. My GPU is pretty long. I forget how long it is, I'll put it up on the screen. But as you can see, that covers is of no use to me. Now these long screws right there are very important if you're going to be installing a fan right here, because you need to use these screws to install the fan. The holes to mount the fan are designed for these screws. You can't just put any screw in there. Here's another look at the back panel. I'll be mounting a 120mm fan to intake cool air to the back of my case. Okay, this is my motherboard. I'm doing sort of a Frankenstein's monster type of build, parts from all over the place from used systems that I have. This motherboard is a B550, an ASRock. I got a bunch of RAM in there. I think it's like 64 gigabytes of Viper memory that I was going to put in another system, but I just never did. And the CPU is a Ryzen 5500. That was in an old one of my systems. This I bought new, the Asus Strix RTX 4060. I only bought it to be able to have a large video card for my builds. And this is an EK Elite 360 all-in-one cooler. It's an older version. Okay, it's time to install the motherboard. You can install the motherboard with the case upright because it's got those thumb screws that allows you to put the motherboard in and it stays in place. I always tip my cases over though. I don't like working against gravity. Now you see this, I got access from all sides of the case. Installing the motherboard was super easy. So much room to work with. Most cases you're limited to just the side panel to be able to get into. This case, because it's open on the sides, makes it so easy. I mean, look at that. Look at me reaching all over the place, in and through and everywhere. Oh, baby. This is another one of the best things about this case. Just the fact that you can get at everything from all sides. You can really attack your build. Cable management for the CPU power, the hole right there. Perfectly placed. That's the hole for the motherboard connections and the motherboard power, 24 pin. You can kind of see it's overhanging the hole though. We'll get into that in a little bit, but let's install the power supply. Uninstall the shroud. And install that shroud onto the back of your PSU. I just wanted to take a minute and say I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate all my subscribers. I appreciate everybody coming to my videos. Thank you. I was recently monetized on my channel and it's great. I'm making money with AdSense, so thank you. Thanks for the views. Okay, now putting this power supply in, it's probably a better idea if you take all your cables off. Like, don't install your cables until you have the power supply in, because then you're just going to be fishing everything through as you're trying to install the power supply. You can take that front panel off and then plug in all your cables afterwards. See what I mean? You can use that hole right there at the front to install all your cables. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm just being dramatic. All right, well, this thing's coming together quite nicely. Lot of room for cables to run and to be tangled up with. I am horrible at cable management, so I appreciate cases when they give me a lot of room to sort of hide my rat's nest of cables. Okay, now here I'm trying to get the motherboard 24 power through, but because the motherboard kind of overhangs below the hole, I can't get that bulge through. If you're using custom cables, you could easily. I'm just using the stock Corsair cable that my power supply came with. And as you see, that big giant bulge can't get through the hole. Which kind of sucks. But I swear Thermaltake knew that this would happen with some people, so they made a couple holes at the bottom where that fan's gonna be. I'll show you here in a second. Those two holes down there, I'll be able to run my cable through there. Very well thought out by Thermaltake. I think they anticipated that. So, it's really no big deal at all. Man, I love building computers. I've built so many. Let me know how many computers you've built. Whether you've never built one and you're planning on building your first one, or you built many, or maybe you just like watching computer videos. Anyways, I'm gonna plug in my front panel switch connector. Just enough room to run it under that motherboard there. Once it gets plugged in, it's gonna be nice and hidden. Look at the bend on that motherboard. Oh yeah. You can easily get into the power supply if you ever have to add new cables that you didn't anticipate on using. Oh, I love the design of this case. Alright, well, this is me running the 8-pin power cable to my CPU. Clipping it in, gonna run it through, plug it in, simple. This is the front panel USB cable. Being able to get my arms into all sides of the case really made this easy. Alright, well, it's time to put this radiator of my all-in-one cooler onto this radiator bezel or shroud or whatever you want to call it. It's really nice being able to install the radiator outside of the case, so I really appreciate Thermaltake for providing you, the builder, with a removable shroud, bezel, bracket, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. So yeah, you can install it outside the case and then just slide the whole unit in as one and struggling a bit. That's no fault to Thermaltake for the design of their case. That's because I'm trying to film and I'm just not very together sometimes. Here I'm running all my fans through all the cable management holes. There's 3 there, 1 for each fan. I'm just putting each fan cable through each one of those holes. Beautiful. See, now the radiator's in and I just got to install a couple screws for the bracket onto the case instead of having to put the radiator in place, hold it up, and then install all the screws into the radiator to fasten it to the case. Much easier this way. Good cases provide you with brackets to install the radiator or the fans outside of the case. And of course, you can do 120mm fans, 140mm fans, and 140mm radiator, 420s or whatever they are. It's a pretty tight fit though with if you're using that large of a radiator. I'm using a 360 radiator and it was tight. So I wouldn't go any bigger than a 360. Time to install the cooling block onto the CPU. Once again, being able to get in at all sides of this case made it so easy. Now as I'm tightening these screws to hold the block down, you don't want to use tools to make them over tight because you can snap the board or you can break the bracket or cause damage. So you just want to hand tighten those screws that hold the block into place. If you need to use a screwdriver to get at it, you can use a little bit of force, but you don't need much. Hand tight is generally the way to go. This is me just kind of cleaning up some of the cable mess. This is the RGB and the power for the pump and the block and everything. The thing I like about this case is that it's easy to kind of do cable management as you're building. Normally what I do with cases is I just build everything and then I try to manage all the cables afterwards. With this case, I don't know, I was doing it as I was going. Alright, I'm going to remove this back plate here and install a fan. 120mm fan, which provides direct cooling to the back of the motherboard, which can get hot. Is it necessary to have this cooling? No, absolutely not. But since Thermaltake's offering, I'm gonna add a fan. Alright, screw that little plate back into place. Now let's put this fan on. This fan's gonna kind of suck air from the bottom of the case and from that front intake panel at the bottom, and then it's just gonna help push all the warm air that's coming through your radiator and all the warm air that's coming off of your GPU up through the case to get rid of that heat. Now I'm taking those special screws that Thermaltake provides you with to install this fan. Bada bing, bada boom. Just running some RGB to the bottom of my motherboard there. The RGB from all my fans and my radiator fans. They're all just going to connect into one big RGB controller that's going to be plugged into the motherboard, and I'm going to install it in the back of the case. That's just me plugging in a fan there. Got RGB plugged in there, I got a fan there, I got a fan down there. That controller is also a fan controller, so that's actually what that fan cable was. Power to that controller, which then delivers power to all the fans. As you can see, this is my cable management work. Not bad for me, who sucks at cable management. Look at that clearance there. Everything like just fits. It's actually quite nice. It's very compact. There's no wasted space in this case. Everything seems like it just fits perfectly. Time to put the GPU into place. It's almost time to wrap up this build. Let's go. Let me know if you like the music in this video. Do you like music in your build videos or not? Let me know. Any advice for what you like? I'm trying to make these builds enjoyable. I don't know what people like though, so give me your thoughts. GPU, of course, is vertical, and it just sticks right in there. Stick her in. I don't know, it felt like this didn't go in, but it did, so I don't know. Another awesome thing about this case is because this motherboard is inverted and the video card is inverted as well, you don't got to worry about GPU sag. I really like this case. Now these inverted or sideways motherboard, whatever you want to call it, aren't anything new. They've been around forever. I remember Silverstone. I don't know if you heard of that brand. They used to make some awesome cases that had this sideways motherboard. I'm surprised more cases don't use it. It's very unique. And to be honest with you, it's kind of refreshing because I'm sick of all the fish tank designs. That's just me running the power cable to the GPU. One measly little power cable. And look at that, it actually looks really good. All the cable routing looks really good. It's designed very well. Let's put that little panel back up so we don't got to see the guts underneath. Watch me struggle. Something I'm used to. Well, this build is pretty much done. We're gonna fire up right away. Here's just another quick look at everything, all the clearance, all the tolerance, everything just fits perfectly. No wasted space in this case. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is where all your back cables are going to run. Like your display cable and your mouse and your keyboard are going to get all plugged in there and then run up through the back, up through the top, and then through the back. And if you need to remove those fans at the top to get in, you easily can, because they're on that little bracket that I showed earlier. But yeah, putting the case back together. I really enjoyed this build. I really enjoyed the case. Yeah, that's where all the cables are going to come out the back of your case. Mouse, keyboard, whatever USB stuff you got going on, internet, whatever. Display, HDMI or DisplayPort cable. I think this case is beautiful. I love the design of the grills on the perforated side panels and front panel and everything. I don't really care about the top panel, like it's kind of got more of that honeycomb look. Don't really care about that, but I mean, just look at this thing. can't get over the fact how compact it is and how there's no wasted space in it. Just beautiful. Yeah, just a reminder, this is only a micro ATX case, so if you're thinking of building a ATX system, this case isn't gonna be compatible with you.